I went to the banks many times with the contracts, and they didn't believe me. They thought I was like joking on the prices and the contracts. So I needed to like get through the whole moral, emotional aspect of my father, and then go back and understand the business. I had no idea how to run an industry. I had no idea how to like how it works, how to trust people. So it was like huge. Like the first year, it was like a huge life lesson.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Paparelli, co-founder of M-Cultivo, and welcome back to the Cupping Table podcast. Our guest today is a longtime friend of mine and a fifth-generation coffee producer on the Tecapa Volcano in El Salvador. I can't believe this guy hasn't been on yet. Diego has done an incredible job experimenting with varieties, processing methods, and building direct buyer relationships for his farm, Los Pirineos, and his export operation. And we're going to dive into all of that today. So, Diego Baraona, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, David. Finally, I'm here at the podcast number 60, right?
Yeah, finally. I know you've been complaining a lot about being on. I'm getting messages every single week. When are you going to get on? We haven't gotten anything like that yet. Yeah, Diego, you are such an incredible producer. You've been so hospitable to have me on your farm, I think twice.
Twice now, yeah.
Your farm operation and walked that coffee mecca with you. I want to kind of go back to this decision to become a coffee producer. So you were kind of thrown into this, right? Your dad was I think known to most people as the king of Pacamara in
Yeah.
El Salvador,
Yes.
probably the most well-known variety at this point in El Salvador, sort of geisha to Panama is Pacamara to El Salvador. I think you'd make a good argument for that.
Yeah.
And he led the way on that in a lot of ways. He passed away, and you had a huge decision to make on whether you were going to step out of your role as a consultant, right, and into coffee. And that is not, I can't imagine that as a simple choice. Can you kind of take us back to what that conversation was like with your family when you were trying to decide if you were going to keep your farm going or not?
Yeah, I mean, it was really crazy because this was back in 2020. It was like in the worst part of COVID, right? 2020, I was living in Barcelona. I was in Spain. My path of life was like to go to Barcelona, study SAP and work in SAP and do my life in Spain, like start from zero, different path as my father. But then COVID hit. He passed away of COVID in June 2020. And then I was like, okay, my life right now is it's shifting in many directions right now. It was really hard because I was 25 years old back then. It was, I mean, I think at that age, people think you're old and you're mature, but you're still a kid at that age. So initially, I'll be really honest. I called my mom and I was like, I'm staying here in Spain. Please, you can just go ahead and either sell everything or just hire somebody else to like manage the farm because I'm not coming back. I mean, like I want to do this here. And it was hard because I needed to, when my father passed away, I had to present my master's thesis like 2 days after. So I was in a different headspace at the moment. It was chaotic. Yeah, it was called it thesis to present, a group project. My father passed away. I needed to talk to lawyers and everything because like everything just like hit up at the same time. So it was really complicated. So I decided initially to stay in Spain, but then I don't know. After like 2 months being in Spain, like I think in my head really like sunk down. I was like, okay, I need to think cold, like in a cold way about this. Like, what's the best thing to do? And I really asked myself like, what's the best challenge for me and the best thing? And I think, yeah, I need to go back. And I think it's too easy to just like run away from the problems in life. I think if I go back and if I fail or I do well, I think it's be like a great life lesson. I have nothing to lose, so I decided to go back home September 2020.
How did your so I guess so you made that phone call to your mom and you said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I think you should just sell everything." She obviously didn't sell everything.
Yeah.
She could have, I'm sure she could have done that within a few months and sort of
Yeah.
gone through that process. Why didn't she just immediately start to try and sell stuff and liquidate stuff? And then was it a phone call again back to your mom and say, "Hey, sorry, I think I might have made the wrong choice here"?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it didn't happen because it's not that easy to sell all those assets like that. It's not easy. It's not like one day. So we started like conversations about doing that initially, but then like I don't know, things they started like naturally forcing me to go back. It's really weird. And then we had to hire like a guy to like explain like me, my sister, my mom, like our assets and the debts and everything. And he said this, it was really like clearly, okay guys, you have this and you owe this. And if you sell everything, you're gonna stay at zero. So I was like, oh shit. It's like I need to go back and work and then pay debts and like throw this again.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
So there was I mean, people don't think about this, right? People think, "Oh, okay, 5th generation coffee producer, you've built something of lasting value." You certainly family's built certainly a legacy, but
Yeah,
to think that
exactly.
you're adopting, like, a framework that's, incredible, and I think we've talked about this before, I mean, yes, farm
Yeah,
was well run, you had
yeah,
different varieties on it that were producing
yeah.
quality, you had
Customers, clients.
customers, clients, you had some frame but you had some really complicated things like, oh,
Yeah,
banks won't give us loans anymore because they were friends with my dad and they weren't
yeah,
friends,
and not me.
they don't know who you are, right? Who is this 25-year-old kid who I'm gonna give a loan to at this
Yeah, who
point,
are you?
right? I mean, so I mean, in a lot of ways, you sorta had to rebuild
Yeah, trust.
and then build things almost from the ground up. Because after all, a business isn't a charity. I'm sure people wanted to support you, but that wouldn't create lifelong relationships. That might have gotten you through 1 year, right?
It's nice and bad because at the same time, yeah, my dad left like a really good business, right? Solid business, great brand. Like it was all like perfectly structured. But because he invested a lot of money 2 years before he passed away, there was a huge investment still owed to banks, like in the bank, right? So it wasn't just like, okay, let's go back and like just sell it. And then no, I need to go back and like talk to the banks, make it work, pay the loans, see how I was going to finance myself because, yeah, like we're saying, I was 25. I went to the banks many times with the contracts and they didn't believe me. They thought I was like joking on the prices and the contracts. So I needed to like one get through the whole moral like the whole emotional aspect of my father and then go back and understand the business. I had no idea how to run an industry. I had no idea how to like how it works, how to trust people. So it was like huge. Like the first year, it was like a huge life lesson. It was a lot of things to learn.
What are banks used to seeing on contracts? Well, like, what were you presenting, and what were they used to seeing?
They were used to seeing more prices based on the C market, and those prices, maybe lower quantity contract and all that. So when they see me, I was 25, 26 at the time. I wrote with a contract which is worth a lot of money. They were like, "Nah, this is not true."
Like, how have
Yeah.
you figured this out? No other producer in your area has figured this out, right?
I don't get it. No, it's funny because I even have the email still, and one of the banks they even asked for my CV, and they wanted to see my CV to see what kind of person I was.
Oh, lord. Yeah, as if you could learn something on yeah, they're gonna make a loan based on a CV. That would be a crazy financing decision. So, all those initial contracts, did your dad have those set up, or were
Yep.
you so those were already set up, those high prices that really weren't tied to the C market at all?
Yeah, yeah, because my dad, like you were saying in the intro, like my dad was a pioneer, at least here in the country. He was one of the pioneers of like setting up the whole specialty market. He was one of the people who started pushing the quality of the country and all that, the processing methods. So he like boosted a lot of the value of the coffee here, of the country itself and our farm and export it for sure. So I was lucky in that way that I stepped into something that was already functional and a bit more healthier on the financial side for sure.
You say that, but then you also had a ton of debt. I'm assuming
Yeah,
the debt was as a result of your dad believing that there was this bright
yeah,
future in specialty, so he was really doubling down, tripling down on
yeah,
this idea of direct trade specialty. There was
yes.
an early thing, an early-ish idea at the time. I mean, maybe a couple decades old max. And you step into that situation and kind of adopt that. Was that a surprise to you that he'd kind of structured things the way he had?
It was a huge surprise. Like he never really talked to us too much about that. And the thing that my father and a bit, I mean, he was a very, I mean, he had a really weird combination of the traits as a person. He was very, very smart, like super smart, but he was also very impulsive in some ways. So like I think that combination can be a little bit tricky. So I feel like he really betted a lot of money and the future in really short years. And I mean, he didn't know Hobie was coming. He didn't know you was going to pass away. So yeah, so he was really betting on this because before him, we only had a farm, and then he invested heavily on wet mill, dry mill, on the exploring company, the lab, like everything, and that happened maybe like in 3 years. So that's a big investment for 3 years.
Ooh, massive. And I mean, I think with coffee, these investments, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but these investments seem to be 3 to 5 year cycles at
Yeah,
a minimum. You know, you're taking on a
yeah,
massive amount of debt
yeah,
generally. I mean, I think it's really difficult to sell equity in coffee.
exactly. It's
I mean, how do
really
you
hard.
sell? I mean, you could sell land. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, you just sell
yeah,
land, but that's not
yeah,
really the same thing as selling equity in a business, raising capital in kind of a more traditional sense. And then so you basically have to do debt, and then you're taking on a massive amount of debt for a 3 to 5 year payout, hopefully. I mean, see how
yeah.
it goes in the next 3 to 5 years. Is that
I
generally how
think
it
for
works?
3 years, in a good like case, yeah, I would say like 4 or 5 years. If not, maybe a bit longer because you don't know what's going to happen. Like it's very fluctuating. So making those investments in at least in coffee, it can be a bit risky, right? You have to like I think a little bit uh conservative. I think so.
At that time, what was your dad what was the 4 to 5 year bet your dad was making at that moment, that you kind of had to adopt and either course correct or keep rolling with?
He was buying more more land next to us, buying more land. He wanted to grow more coffee. He also built a mill because he also wanted to buy more cherries in the area and build and process cherries and all that. So he was like really building like a. I mean, I when I sit down and I see his structure, yeah, it makes sense, right? Like I get what he was doing, but yeah, but I think it was a bit too maybe too risky and too aggressive to do it like that fast paced.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough too. I mean, because you're sort of a victim of your own success. I mean,
Exactly.
when you did what your dad did, right? Which is
Yeah.
an absolute miracle. I mean, new variety, Pacamara, specialty coffee, direct trade, new way of doing business. Most of the people I talk to in your position, producers, they're actually trying to take their folks, their grandparents' legacy out of
Mhm.
a C market based price and move it
That's
into what and that's today. I'm talking about
that's that's right now. Yeah,
now. Right now
yeah,
that's happening, right? That that's not even, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, that's like that's today. And I think it's really difficult um to understand from his perspective. He must have felt like I caught the wave. I mean, I
yeah,
figured I'm the smartest guy in coffee.
yeah,
I figured out the Pacamata
yeah,
thing. I got all these direct relationships. My contracts are like 4x what a normal contract should be. I mean,
yeah.
prices are going nuts. I mean, what could go wrong?
Go
Let's go
wrong.
acquire more land. Let's build a wet mill.
Yeah,
Let's really dump. And if you're in that position, you can empathize. I mean, you'd have to say, oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't bet against the guy, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
To get back to that question, is there anything that did you sell off parcels of land? You maintained the wet mill, right? So you kind of what did you do? Like, what was the kind of restructuring that had to happen that made Los Pirineos what it is today?
So because I took over like not knowing anything about the business. I mean, my own business, the whole industry, how it works. It's like it's funny because I remember like going to a mill and just like entering the mill and seeing all the machines and like what are these like how do they work? It's like giving you like a new toy. You're like, okay, how do I play with this? So it was really funny. So the first 2 years, I mean, honestly, I probably took like I was like more like behind the scenes. I like let my team my team like operate the way they've been doing for the last 15 years now. And I told him like I'm not gonna like try to change anything. I want to learn from you guys first. And let's do things how you've been doing in the past. And for 2 years, I'm gonna step a bit back of the role and I let my team to handle things a bit more. Decisions were taken as a group, not just me. So I think that really helped me to learn more about the business. learn about what needs to change, how be more efficient, where do I want to go. And I think also my team really, I think, appreciated like the group dynamic that was created. Like this is like a group effort. It's not just like me going in and I'm the owner and the boss and do this. I think it really create like a nice culture. So that's also been really good for success of the business, trying to please
Did you
all the
get
parties.
did you get advice from anybody to kind of
No,
take a back seat? I mean, any mentors, anybody who influenced you during that time to kind of say,
no.
"Hey, this is probably a better way of, learn first, sit back and learn from the team first, and then slowly become more proactive."
That was my I guess I thought about it by myself a lot, and I realized that was going to be the best way. I think it was really intrinsic to take that leading role.
Did you draw any of that from, your consulting background? I mean, was there anything there? Or is it just you're just built that way? Kind of
I,
a
I think
student of a game and just kind of, I wanna study and figure things out, and I'm a little
yeah,
bit I like
I
to
think
it's the guy who walks into the party and stands in the corner of the room and then sort of, like, checks out. You see this with kids, right? They're sort of,
I
like, checking out, seeing what's going
yeah,
on, and they don't wanna jump in, and then
yeah,
slowly they sort of kinda work themselves in. They're like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay." Right.
yeah. Or I'm a highly functional introvert. That's how I define myself. Highly functional introvert. So I think yeah, I've all my life I've been that guy who goes to like social events and parties, and I'm like always like in the back and in the corner, hiding, slowly getting into the crowd. I think being that way since a kid, teenager, and now an adult, I think is developed the idea of myself to like just like analyze things and analyze people and don't make any rash decisions. So I think that's been like a really good tool for me. Like I mean, it's your list to make decisions.
Well, I think in coffee, that's a superpower, right? Because, they say that that adage of measure twice, cut once kind of idea. I mean, in coffee, you make a mistake. I mean, you might not know it's a mistake for 3 to 5 years, which is kind of outrageous, but you kinda went the other way too. I mean, you do a good job, in my view, walking around your farm. You do a great job of compartmentalizing experiments and then
Yeah,
kind of de-risking them financially,
yeah, yeah.
um, which is it's kind of incredible to see. I mean, I think you've got, is it 80 varieties on your farm?
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that?
we have 80 different, and those 80, we have 20. I think it's 25, 26 that are in full production right now.
So you have these 80 varieties, but you're kind of taking parcels of land that you think they're going to work on, planting a little bit, seeing how those do, and then expanding that depending on cupping profiles and how everything. I mean, it's very systematic in the way you approach that. And I think on the other side of things, customers, and I'd love to dig into this with you because you've got customers. I know you've had a podcast episode up with Tim Wendelboe, right?
Yep.
Um, and you got this amazing project with him, but I don't know if this is unique to you in what you've done in the past, but effectively having customers kind of prepay for some of the coffees that you're creating, or the ethos of those coffees that you're creating,
Yeah.
or the environment you're creating for those coffees, to sort of de-risk that for you or share the risk
Yeah.
in effect. Can you talk a little bit about that project or and the other projects you might have going on, and sort of how does that come about? Because I feel like that takes a lot of courage as a producer to go to a buyer and say, "You pay for it."
So initially, I'll be really honest here in the podcast, like with you, like Tim has been probably. I mean, you asked before if somebody has really helped me, and I think Tim has been like a really good mentor, and he's being a real support for me, for my family, for the business. He's supporting me since day one. So we've been really having like a really intimate, really honest talks with him, and he asked me where do I see this going, and then he told me his vision of coffee, and he told me he's really into I wouldn't say becoming fully organic, but he's really into the whole sustainable farming practices and trying to like get rid of almost all the chemicals and all the chemical like all the conventional ways of doing coffee. So he started talking to me about this in 2023 that he wanted to go that way. And me, luckily, I went to the Portland, the Portland Expo in 2023, and I met a guy named Lalo. Lalo, he's from Mexico. He runs like a consulting company that consults farmers how to become a bit more sustainable, and kind of remove all the chemicals. So I talked to him. I really like his project, and then I connected them with Tim. Yeah, and Tim really enjoyed him and his concept in the business. So Tim decided to invest in us, Los Pirineos, and all the other producer he buys from coffee, to pay for this project for us because he really
How
wants
how's
us
the
to
how's the
do
deal
that.
structured? Yeah, I mean, when you say he decided to invest and pay for it, I mean, you're not giving him equity in your family operation,
No,
right? How do you structure that deal? What's the deal that makes that the math work?
I really don't know what's the deal with them, but like yeah, he invest. I mean, he sees that because he wants us to change. He sees that way because he invests. He's gonna get better coffee in the end, healthier coffee. I guess more cleaner, like less chemicals. So he wants to invest in his product as well. So he sees it as a long term investment, like for better products.
So he's paying for the consulting, to boost that. But then there's all these ag inputs, or I mean, there's well, I guess it's not ag inputs because you're not actually adding things, but there's a stewardship of the land and the labor that you're offering, and that's sort
Yeah,
of where things meet. I'll do this work for free.
uh,
He commits to the coffee up front. Is that right?
coffee. Yeah, for coffee. I mean, he's a super loyal person. He's really nice that way because he understands coffee, right? Coffee is a living thing, right? So some years might be good, some years might be really good, some years might be like not so good, but still good coffee. And he is really faithful in that way. He understands, so he's really supporting that way. So he feels that this way with this project, coffee can be a bit more consistent each year in quality and volume.
Mhm. What have results been so far? I mean, are you finding that, the quality is what are the what's been the upsides, what's been the downsides?
So right now, this was the first year we did it, and what I noticed because we chose two, it was like 1 hectare of like conventional and the new method. Um, Quality wise, I would say it was very similar right now. It's the first year, so we're not really expecting to see any big difference. So it was very similar. But it does look a bit more like leaves, a bit more lush. I guess more on the green side, and the cost was also a bit lower also.
Was there any, from the consulting, I mean, if you were to take, I know this is gonna be hard to do, but, in sort of rebuilding in this more, organic, you hate to use all these terms, right? Because they have such baggage to them, but organic, regenerative farming, like this, really paying attention to soil health. If you kind of were pick 2 or 3 lessons you've learned that you'd say, "Hey, anybody who's a coffee producer out there should probably pick this up, and these are 3 things you could do to really reform your farm operation and move it to this, lower cost way of operating and potentially more consistent production."
Yeah. Yeah, because we come from a long history of like abusing of chemicals on the farm. Yeah. Like using insane amount of chemicals. And last year was like the tipping point. Like last year we had a really bad year, like rust and like a yield. Our farm was looking really bad. And you saw it this year. You saw it. It's looks amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be honest, like I realized that less is more. Don't complicate things. Shade is really important. And I think people need to stop investing more in shade. I think shade is really important for coffee plants. And the soil health, I realized it's really important also. Like because I did some tests on my soil and they were barren. Like they were completely barren because of all the abuse of the pesticides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, everything. So yeah, and I discovered also like a huge mafia. Lot of the chemical companies at least here in Los Salvador, they give like some money on the side to like the agronomists working on the farms, so that these people working on the farms they need to sell more product to the owner, because if they sell more product to the owner, the company gives them a bit more money on the side. So I realized some people are putting chemicals in the farms just because for no reason, just because this guy is going to get more money on the side. So there's a huge shady business going on with this. So yeah, I realized this business is not going anywhere. Chemicals, it's a dead end.
There's so many things like that, you know, it's sort of like the drug business, right? Where, you don't you don't really want people to
To be
you're
healthy.
Yeah, you're a triathlete, you're a marathon runner, you're a super healthy guy, super fit. I mean, you don't really want people to be if you're a drug company, a pharmaceutical company, you don't really want people to be healthy going into hospitals. I
Exactly.
mean, you really want them to have some issues so you can it's like
Exactly.
drugs will solve all problems. Let's just put
Yeah,
more drugs in the
just
equation.
buy more drugs, yeah.
Yeah, you get the same sense with every single year with fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, you just get the sense that they have to be stronger and stronger every
Yes,
single year in order
yeah,
to forgive the sins of years past of how those, whatever it might be, pests, whatever is evolving in that ecosystem. But I mean, what I'm surprised about is you went cold turkey to stay with the
cold
drug
turkey,
term, right?
yeah.
You went
Yeah,
cold turkey and you migrated over, and I would have expected that to take years to
yeah.
basically rebuild the soil health and rebuild that
Yeah.
land? I mean, how long did that actually take you before your farm started showing kind of level of improvement?
It took us like a year and a half, and I quit cold turkey, like you said. Like last year was rough, and there were moments I talked to people, I talked to my mom and my sister. Like I was like, hey, I'm done with this. I want to quit coffee. Like I was so desperate. I was so like tired of this. I was like, I think I'm gonna quit coffee. Yeah. I was close. I was close to quitting, but then I started seeing results and changes. Things were starting to like be a bit more on my side, so things started to like shift. So yeah, also learn like you have to be patient always in the good times and the bad times. You have to be patient always.
Well, I mean, such a crazy. I mean, were you thinking about quitting coffee in the midst of the discussion with Tim about this project, or was the project already moving and you were just like, "Oh man,
It
if
was
this doesn't,"
moving.
you're like, "If this
Yeah,
doesn't work, I don't know what I'm gonna do."
yeah, it was moving, but yeah, I part of why also I see this as the future because yeah, for me chemicals were not working. Like each year we were spending more and more and more money, more money, more money, and yield was dropping, quality was dropping, more rust, more diseases. So I was like, okay, why am I spending more money each year and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse? It makes no sense.
I heard something or read something, I think it was about Los Pirineos in this project where you actually cut the, farm inputs costs
Yeah,
by 90% or something like
yeah,
that?
oh
Is
yeah,
that true?
yeah, yeah. Okay, I was spending like 100K a year in prodding chemicals and the whole labor and the chemicals combined was like 1K a year. That's a lot of money. And for not seeing any results, that really took a toll on me last year. When I saw like the numbers and like, okay, this is how much we invested in the last 4 years, and it's getting worse. Yeah, it was hard. It was
It's
hard,
unbelievable.
and coming from a really like a huge step because I had a huge step before, right? So I had a huge step, and now I'm a bit more in depth, and I didn't get anything back. That was a huge hit for us.
Yeah, I mean, you think about that in terms of just the economics of your farm, right? I mean, if you save $90,000 in farm inputs, I mean, that goes straight to profitability.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
that it's not like that I mean, you can obviously invest in other things but
Yeah.
I mean, the math on that's pretty simple. It's like I have so much production, my quality is so good, yeah, I can sell more at a higher price in theory, but
Yeah.
if all things equal, if you're able to get the same production, the same quality as you did prior, which it sounds like that's what's happening, same
Yeah.
amount of volume, maybe a little bit better in terms of volume and production.
Yeah.
Quality seems to be elevating now too. We
Yeah.
cup some coffees of yours. I mean, what's your
Yeah.
experience with quality in the system?
Yield has maybe either stay the same or a bit lower, but nothing crazy. But what I've noticed, like what's crazy in the not in the dry mill or coffee overall, the overall yield in dry mill, it's much better now because before it was like yeah we had like a lot of coffee, awesome harvest, but when you go to the dry mill, you see like really small beans, a lot of coffee borer, beans that are like tea berries and all that. So it's really it's depending how you want to see it. Like you want to have like a really big harvest of cherries, but then when you go to the dry mill, you're like yeah this is nothing in the end, or just be really consistent in the dry mill. So those are the things that we are also like discovering now. The
Yes,
overall like the final yield,
yeah, so your exportable yield,
it's higher. Yeah,
and that's really the number you wanna pay attention to.
it's not. Yeah, it's actually. 'Cause I had a really good year back in 2023. We had probably the biggest harvest in the last 20 years. We had, like, a lot of, like, amazing amount of cherries. But when we went to the dry mill, it was like nothing because we had like a lot of coffee border, beans that are really like the black beans called fermented beans. It was like huge loss. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of like investing all the money having a lot of cherries and then you're like driving, you're like, this is nothing in the end.
It's really
It's
unbelievable
it's a tricky
when
game.
you see that.
It's a really tricky game.
Yeah, I think there was, with the I think it was it a Pacamara on the table that we cupped?
Yeah,
It was
natural
it was
Pacamara,
yeah, it was, like, at the very end of the
the
table,
last one. Yeah,
beautiful coffee, super young at the time, but fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic cup. I mean, have you cupped that cup of coffee since then? Has it improved?
I copped it like you guys were here like in March, right? Like in
Yeah,
March.
yeah, March,
Yeah,
end of
I copped
March.
it like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it was even better.
Yeah, I think the methodology, it's so interesting because I think so many, labels and kind of cliches and almost um, political statements get made about that type of farming. But I remember, I walked a farm in Nicaragua. The guy's name was, he's still there, Byron Corrales. His family's still in farming, and he is such a purist at this that he walked us out of the farm and then he asked me, he's like, "Do you hear that?" And he goes, and he like hushed me. He's like, "Do you hear that?" I was like, "I don't hear anything." He's like, "That is the sound of a very happy farm." And he walked me through. I mean, his technique was really from the soil up. It wasn't just shade trees. It was okay. The soil cover he considered shade. So he had kind of soil cover that was protective of the soil, and then you had a next layer, then you had coffee trees, and then you had another layer of shade, and
Yes,
beyond that, it's like building from this foundation all the way to the sky, and how he had to think through that. I never heard anybody describe coffee farming that way. Is this consultant that you're working with, is that sort of the same ethos of kind of his approach is like, let's go all the way back to the soil and then let's kind of go upwards?
that's why he doesn't really use it like the buzzwords like or the jargons of like organic and this and all that. Like no, he's really honest, transparent. Like the key of this is have healthy soils because that's what has been lost, right? Like at soils, and the soils are what the plants are eating from, and we as humans we don't eat from dirty dishes or like we don't eat like trash like that. It's kind of like logical now. Now that I see it, I'm like, "Ah, this actually makes sense. It's really
It does, but it's sorta confusing when you think about what farming was because you don't think of hard packed, mulch cover, it can be a very ugly farm in some
so
ways, but a very productive, healthy farm, right?
yeah. I have you been to Ethiopia?
This is one of the origins I haven't, so have you been there? Yeah.
No, I haven't, but a team showed me videos of the farming he's buying from Ethiopia, and it was mind blowing. Like I see videos and pictures, and it's like a forest. Like it's a actual forest, and the plants are like wild growing. They're really tall, really long things, and the soils are like with like leaves and it's just like it doesn't look like clean like we are used to here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why are they like not? And he was like, they don't apply anything. They don't do anything. The only thing they do, maybe they control the shade a little bit, but they don't do anything to it. So I'm like, okay, so why?
So we had a member of our team, O Tyler, was just in Ethiopia this year, and his takeaway coming back was very similar in that, most of his experience and my experience is Central American coffee. Some certainly South American, but mostly Central American. And going over to Ethiopia, he walked away kind of befuddled by the fact that things could be going what from a Central American perspective would be considered so wrong at every element of the process. Everything's so sort of messy, but it
Messy,
all
yeah.
kind of works. And he just is like, well, I mean, imagine what they could do if they had organized processing and clean farms, this kind of idea.
Yep.
But interesting to hear you say, no, it's actually might be the reverse. It's like the reason the quality is so good and amazing coming out of Ethiopia is because it hasn't been put into a traditional, a more commercial agricultural system, right?
Like think going way back in time, like in the I don't know, maybe in the 1800s or before when coffee was first brought here. I I don't think Spaniards or people here or the colonials were putting chemicals on the plants, and they were producing crazy amounts of like volumes. So like, why are we not putting chemicals on all this? Like, it's like you were saying, we have been like confusing to buying things that we don't need, like also like humans for medicines and antibiotics, right? You don't really need them all the time.
I mean, it's kind of this double-edged sword, right? Like they're miracle drugs. I mean, penicillin and the invention of that. I mean, all of these things, but overuse certainly is destroying your gut biome, and it's really difficult. I mean, same thing for a farm, I'd imagine. Well, I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about Pacamara,
Yep.
um, because I feel like when people talk about El Salvador, you're trying these kind of 80 varieties out, but I would assume that most people, when they talk to you, they want to hear about your Pacamata year after year. Is that brand Pacamata still holding strong in El Salvador?
Yeah, it is very strong, and I think it's kind of like it could be better. Also, I think we have been really like sleeping on it a little bit. Like you're comparing like actually with Panama and Pacamara here. I think we we could be better with it, honestly, as a brand. But Pacamara has been like a vessel, a vessel that has become. I'll say Pacamara has turned our origin into a really famous one because of the quality of it. So I think Pacamara is, yeah, it's a staple here for sure.
I mean, the Panamanians did this as kind of a community effort with geisha, and they really invested together
Yeah,
in the Panama geisha brand, right?
yeah, they've
And
done great
they
marketing.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, they went to every single, well, now World of Coffee, but SCA Ska show. They went to every single, and they were just representing collectively as Panama Geisha. Yeah, you had these, call them sub brands if you want to, but Hacienda La Esmeralda and La Mastis and Mi Finquita. You had these amazing producers. Now Finca Sofia and La Mula and all these guys that we, become so famous for their quality, but they really invested together in Panama Geisha as a brand. I mean, when you say you guys could do a better job in El Salvador, are you starting to have any conversations around that as kind of a co-investment, or is El Salvador really still in this more siloed, every producer for themselves sort of environment?
Unfortunately, it feels like that way still. And when I first got into it, that's why was one of the first things I noticed. Like, it's a very divided community here, very divided, and I don't know why, but it feels like sometimes people are very competitive with each other, and I don't know why, because we are different. It's coffee is huge market, huge demand for it. Like, and we are very jealous, very competing, really secretive on things and that. And I don't know why, and because we have the example of Panama. Panama has been, like you were saying, they made a huge joint effort and they got together. So I think here could work also because we are a very small origin. It's a very small country, so I think it could be very well done. Um, and these are the talks I'm having with like I will say people that are my age that are getting into coffee. I think it's easier, but it's hard to do with the old school. The old school has a different mentality also, and that's one of the things I've noticed also in coffee. That's it's hard to change people's mind also
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially if someone's been doing something for,
for 50
50
years.
years, and they've got generations of history. And I mean, who are you to tell me what to do?
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
just it I absolutely understand that. I have been really interested in El Salvador. I mean, obviously, just because of there does seem to be a strong parallel, stronger than other origins with Panama in terms of size of production. I mean, your production over as an overall country is going down, right? It's getting harder to produce coffee. The quality is having to raise, so prices are having to go up just to create a economically sustainable farm operation. Um, and so it sort of seems to be settling into this idea of, hey, if we're not producing, and I'm making this up, but if we're not producing 86 plus coffees at a fixed price, then those farm operations are not going to be viable in the same way that they were in the past. Do you resonate with that? Do you feel that
Yeah.
that yeah, are you seeing that, I mean, have you thought about it that way in terms of, "Hey, this is what the Panamanians did." Is this kinda where El Salvador is going, or am I way off base on that?
Yeah, because I talked to people and people are always saying, "Oh yeah, it was a really bad yield year, this and that." I'm like, okay, perfect, but like, this don't get like mad about having low yield. Let's focus on like at least getting good quality. Like it makes more sense because, like in my case, I got a lot of land, right? But I told you I've been slowly selling some land because for me it was too much land. I couldn't manage having that much land, and I was having a lot of land, and I was investing a lot of money in it, and I wasn't really taking good care of it because it was just too much, and labor was going down, and it's still going down. It's hard to find people to work the land, so it just makes no sense. So I realized it's better to so that land to people who want to work it. I buy those shares and I get shares still, but I bring down my costs and I become a bit more efficient and I get a really stable yield each year and really consistent quality each year also. So I think it's much better to do it that way than having
I
like
think so.
lots of lands.
I mean, and focus on the customers that appreciate that.
Exactly.
I think it's
Yeah.
a good strategy. I mean, I think that in the past, it's been this sort of idea that if I'm gonna sell coffee, I need to sell a blender, I need to sell a mid-tier single origin coffee, I need to sell a halo effect,
Yeah.
luxury class sort of auction lot type coffee, and I need to really cover all of these types of coffee on my farm so I can diversify. That's like I need to diversify my portfolio of
Yeah.
coffees
But
in order to
that's really
fit.
tricky.
Really tricky, and you're basically in 3 different businesses at
Yeah.
least,
It's
right?
too much. Yeah.
Whereas if you do what you're doing, which I think is I appreciate it, which is, hey, do the counterintuitive thing, which
Yeah.
is really pare down your market and your offering to a
Yeah.
very, very small niche within specialty,
Who
and
appreciate and pay for it.
where they will pay for it, and yes, your customer base will go from 1,000 roasters to maybe 50 roasters,
Yeah.
but is that a problem? I mean, has that really been a problem for you?
No, because in the end, because luckily, because I don't come from a coffee background, I come more like a business side because for I studied, I think I got into it seeing this as a business, and I think sometimes coffee is not seen as a business. Sometimes it's being run more on the emotional side a little bit into romanticized. So I feel that's caused a lot of damage. I think so also in the overall brand of coffee.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think, I was talking to a roaster the other day, and there was this idea that he doesn't buy a coffee if he doesn't have a market for it, and
Hmm.
so you're not just buying coffee for fun. Like this coffee's really amazing, and so I'm gonna buy it just because it's amazing.
Right.
Some of that happens, but it's just not a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I do think there's a change in the market happening that you know, it's almost it's almost here, and we're now kind of realizing it. I think it's difficult to wrap your head around it. Obviously, last year we saw a famous, Hacienda La Esmeralda sold their coffee for $30,000 a kilo on auction,
Hmm.
right? So you have things like that. I mean, that is a different level of
Different league, different
a
market.
different league, and then you trickle down the economics to the Julith in Dubai that sold the coffee per cup at $1,000 a cup,
It's
and you're
insane.
kinda like, "Man,
It's
this
different
is ab"
world.
Yeah, this is a different one, but I will tell you, I was at, Kelowna and Smalls in London today, and I was buying an SL9. Franco's gonna laugh because I'm becoming all about Peru coffee these days. I'm trying to because it's I'm like, man, there's some exciting stuff coming out of that origin. But I
Yeah.
bought an SL9 from Kelowna and Smalls, 150-gram roasted bag for 40 pounds. I mean, that is so you're talking about a normal bag of coffee would be 250 grams. You're talking about 60, $70 US dollars for a minimum for that bag of coffee. That's just a bag of coffee sitting on the shelf in a roastery in London. I
Mhm.
mean, and people are buying it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're just in this new world,
New
and it
new
needs to be
new era.
recognized that your strategy,
Yeah.
it could not it there was a risk that it wouldn't have paid off. But
Yeah.
kind of focusing and taking that approach, obviously for you, has made your life a whole lot easier and a
And
simpler business strategy, right?
and that was a really hard choice because okay, I took the choice 2 years ago. I thought about this. I think my dad would have never done this. Never. Because he was too attached to the land, right? Like, and I get it. I think I luckily am a bit more colder on that aspect. But in the end, yeah, it's a business. You gotta make decisions that are cold. efficient but make sense to you. Like, don't make decisions on the emotional side. Make decisions on the numbers. Like, what makes sense to you and where do you want to go? So that's one of the things that so also people at least in coffee need to like also like have also in mind always.
It's a beautiful concept, right? I mean, so a coffee plant, if you know, there's endless coffee metaphors, but you have to prune coffee plants, right? And you fall in love with the plant. I mean, some coffee farms have plants that are 100 years old. I've been on those farms, and you see that it's still producing something, but it isn't what it could be. You have to prune a coffee plant. It's like you look at your business, you have to prune. I mean, every once in a while, and it might be on a 5 to 7 year cycle or whatever it may be, but you need to prune in order to in order to move forward. I mean, because you're just gonna have all this baggage and all this expense, you're just not gonna have the ability to build something that's truly great, right? I just think there's something there. I would love to hear from you the story, this Pacamara brand. Like, what can you tell the story real quick of where Pacamara came from and how that came about?
I forgot the year it was developed, but I think if I'm correct, I think it wasn't in the 1970s and 80s, around those years. It was developed by mixing the Pacas variety and the Marovipe. They blended those two coffees, the Pacamara comes from, and then the first trials were done at Los Pirineos. So that's why my dad was really fan because yeah, we had access to the first seeds of it. So some of, I mean, now not so much, but back then, we had like probably the first plants and the I would say the DNA, the genetics were probably the OG plants. So the Pirineos were one of the first farms where this Pacamara was trialed and grown.
So for Pacamara in El Salvador, it was an intentional effort. You know,
Yeah.
they created the variety, their cultivar, I guess, and
Yeah.
then they chose your dad, or your dad chose to be a part of the project, and they planted
Yeah.
it there and tested it there.
Yeah.
Were you around during that time to taste that coffee and and see that come to fruition?
I think the first no, maybe so I was born in '94. Probably when I was probably like 8 years, 10 years old. Probably I was the first time I kind of like got to try it, but I think I was too young to like really understand what because back then as a kid they'll give me like a lot of milk and a little bit of coffee. That's what I would drink
Do you
as a
do
kid.
you remember at like 8, 10 years old, whenever this happened, do you remember it being a big deal at all, or was it, you know?
There's something I have really pressed in my mind, and I remember probably was like 14 years old or 15. I remember coming home from school, and my dad was like chatting on the phone, and he was like fighting somebody. I don't know who he is fighting on the phone, but he was saying, yeah, but honey coffees are good. They did work. Naturals also are good because back then people were don't didn't believe in doing honey coffees or fermenting all that. It was crazy to see that yeah he was having those talks back then 20 maybe 2009 2010 yeah.
How much of kind of your dad's knowledge of coffee, I feel like you got a lot of it just through osmosis. You probably don't give yourself credit for this, of sort of it's
Yeah.
just kind of, I mean, people say it's in your blood, but it's really sort of you grew up hearing those kinds of conversations in the car. I mean, how much
Yeah.
of your dad's sort of knowledge around farming, coffee, do you feel like you really picked up before you had this operation?
Maybe like 15% of the things I knew at when I first got into it. Like I got into it like not knowing much, but I think like we're saying from osmosis, I think I got a little bit from him, a little bit. Because yeah, he would like take me to school sometimes or like I don't know, drive me to places. He was always on the phone and talking to like clients like importers or like roasters and just he was a really intense person. He was always like shouting and like really like batting over prices and processes and all that. So I think just like hearing those conversations of him, I really got into like okay, what's a wash coffee, what's a natural, what's a honey, how to ferment coffee, pricing the coffee as well, and all that. So I think I got some like some tools.
It's so cool imagining those days, but even as a kid, I mean, you didn't think, "Hey, one day I'm gonna be coffee producer and take over this farm." Did you ever have
No,
that thought? No.
never. No, as a kid, never because I was 24 when I moved to Spain. And I moved there because my dad was always really he really pushed me to always follow like a different path. He was really clear. You it was like you have to fly by yourself, and that means like coffee's not a choice right now. So you have to like fly right now and do your thing. Yeah. But he was always. really good and like pushing me into new territories, new frontier, basically. So yeah, he was really keen on that. He never forced me to do coffee, so I think that's why for me it was easy to go back into coffee because I wasn't forced into it by him.
Why did he I agree with that. I think it's a really hard approach,
Yeah,
to take. I mean, especially if you build something amazing, the thing that you'd probably want most in the world is for, the guy you love most in the world, which is your son, to take that over and kind of build something of value. But I think it's really difficult to kind of be, hey, you have to find your own path. But I think there's a ton of wisdom in that. And you just grow so much more getting out of El Salvador, which is sort of a Pueblo Pequeño kind of idea, right? Getting to Barcelona, building your own life, doing all that. What was influencing your dad at the time to do that?
I think he was excited because he saw that I was having opportunities that maybe he didn't have when he was my
Mm,
age. So I
yeah.
feel like he wanted me to like maybe try new things, and he knew that I thrive because I went to college in the U.S. also, and he saw how much I changed just being by myself in the U.S. for 5 years. So I think he really noticed how much being away from home and like being by myself really can have a really good impact on me. So he was really keen on that, and he knew that by going to Spain and doing SAP and all that, he was going to bring me like a lot of like new doors for life.
I mean, your CV is significantly better, I would say, than it was when the bank was reviewing it at 25. He's done a heck of a job, but I mean,
Yeah,
even at 25, you had an impressive CV with
yeah.
masters, SAP. I mean, the
Yeah.
things you'd done, and it would have been so easy for most people just to settle into the family business.
I could have just sold everything, back then, and just that was a easy way out, and just sell it. I don't want to do anything with this, and whatever. Yeah, but I think I've grown so much as a professional, taking this pathway than just like staying in Spain. I think yeah, it's been really hard because I've gone through really hard things, but I've thrived so much and I've learned so many good like life lessons out of that I think no other job in the world can probably like teach you that.
I think for a lot of people, there's this idea of nepotism, right? Okay, has farm operation, comes in a bit, run, comes back family. I don't get a sense from you that that is the case at all. Even though you were given, it's almost like you acquired a business and you were the turnaround guy.
Yeah, yeah,
That's more what it feels like.
yeah.
And which is almost the complete opposite of that idea, nepotism, right? It's when
I was
you
afraid
it's
of that.
harder. It would have been easier to build from scratch than to
Hmm.
take on a business that was racked with debt, how to and turn it around. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, just and in everything you were going through, it's amazing. So we talked about this idea of kind of making 3 to 5 year bets, right?
yeah.
You obviously made a 3 to 5 year bet on this work with Tim Wendelboe and reshaping
Big
how
things,
you do farming. Yeah, creating a more organic approach to farming. What what for you is the next 3 to 5 year bet? What's kind of in the back of your mind?
Since I got into this, I've noticed a huge impact there is for tourism. I think tourism can also bring us like a really interesting a cash flow for us. I haven't really done it yet because I want to like set a bit more in the business still, and I want to see what kind of tourism I want to do because right now our country has gotten really famous now globally. Back when I left the US in 2023 and no 2013, sorry, we were probably the worst country in the in the whole world, like because of violence, insecurity, and crime. But now I've seen like a huge change of like our brand as a country. So I've been getting a lot of tourism. So I'm really interested in exploring more like the tourism part of it. I think that could bring us like really good like income to the farm for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. I think you do get into this, and I'd be curious on kind of your reaction to this, but you are getting into this completely different business, right? So you need a different team that manages that. You need to it's completely different understanding, completely different set of problems.
Yeah.
And El Salvador is clearly on the rise with tourism, real estate, property. I mean, the beaches in El Salvador, the property and the beaches in El Salvador is being bought up like crazy from
Insane.
foreigners. It's insane. I mean, I guess you mentioned the word Bitcoin, and then a certain percentage of the population just kind of floods in and starts buying stuff, right? Um, but you are kind of right place, right time, and I think you do have a beautiful. So it's called Los Pirineos after the Pyrenees, right, in Europe, and so it's a beautiful spot for
Yeah.
mountain biking, for gravel trails, for running, for
Running,
hiking, for
hiking, yeah, all that. And I love sports, so I was also thinking, like, just crazy thinking in the air, like, because I love running and sports, and I would love to like maybe to do some like hosting people to do some like Los Pirineos weekend running camps, and we can just stay there, camp, run, maybe drink coffee, and then like create experiences. I think that's what I want to create, because my sister and her boyfriend, who are also my business partners in a different business, they have also a lot of experience making experiences. So because of seeing them, I kind of got the idea. Okay, I could maybe do this, but at a farm, and that could be really cool to bring maybe 6 to 10 people, host them for a weekend, run, train, do hikes, and drink coffee. So
yeah.
that could be like a different market segment I could like bring into
I
it.
think so, and it's only an hour, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from San Salvador, right?
2 hours now, yeah, yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not far away. It's
So
not
it's
not crazy.
firing distance for kind of a even like a weekend kind of thing. I mean, you could do Los Pirineos experience and go to the beach and, that'd be your week, get back on an airplane and fly back to the States or wherever you're going to, right? It'd be amazing. But dude, I mean, do you have any hesitance to that? I mean, obviously you're running it sounds like you're getting sucked into coffee farming in a very big way. And that's part of the reason why you haven't had the bandwidth to kind of divert and start building a hospitality business on the
Yeah.
side as a hobby. Um, where how do you feel
It's
you're gonna be
tricky.
able to sort of separate those and balance that?
Yeah. That's why I haven't done, because I've been thinking about this and talking to people about this maybe since 2022 and 23. I think this idea been in my mind for many, many years, but I haven't done it because, yeah, like you were saying, I still need to do some cleaning in the business. I need to still do some financial cleaning still. Uh, there doesn't. I mean, right now compared to 5 years ago, yeah, I'm like way ahead in the tunnel, and I can see the light finally at the end of the tunnel. But back then, I didn't see any lights. I was in the dark for a long period. But now I'm getting closer. But like you were saying, I need to do it a bit more smart. I need to maybe hire people to do it for me, and like, because my teammates are not gonna do it, and me
Mm,
myself, I don't have that much time sometimes. So I need to think how I'm gonna do it in an efficient way, and because if I do it, I don't want to be like swamped with work and stuff.
absolutely. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Are there? I mean, this might be the last question for you on this, but are there any other kind of coffee farm tourist models that you've looked at and you've said, "Hey, this is spectacular"?
I wouldn't say coffee farms that I'm aware of, but I have seen a lot of like here and now, at least in the Salvador, it's really famous. The whole glamping concept is really famous in coffee farms, or like in coffee farm areas. It's really famous. So yeah, so that concept would be kind of interesting to put it in nails, but maybe give it a more like a sports oriented aspect to it.
I love it. Well, what can we expect from Los Pirineos this year? What should people look out for?
I think going back more towards like the classic profile. So I think coffee wise, I think some really clean coffees that you can drink, and you can say, yeah, this coffee I can drink it every single morning and I will get bored of it. Yeah, maybe going back to the roots of coffee.
And obviously you can pick it up at Tim Wendelboe. I think
Hey,
I've seen your stuff at the barn. I mean, what
yeah,
about anybody in the US we should be on the lookout if somebody wants to buy Los Pirineos?
I have to check because we work with a la coffee in the US.
Uh-huh.
I think I've noticed this roastery in Texas called Silver Crystal Espresso. I think it's called. Yeah, they're in Texas, I believe so. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we get some look, and also in Los Angeles, we in LA we have she's called Gardenia. Gardenia is the first generation Salvadorian. Was born in LA, and she started a company called Cipota Coffee, and yeah, and she has our coffee in LA.
Love that name. So
Yeah,
good. Well, yeah, well, I appreciate it, Diego. I mean, people can honestly, they can whatever they do, ChatGPT, Gemini, Google, whatever you do, Los Pirineos, coffee, and you'll see a good amount of hits from some amazing roasteries around the world. You guys really sell globally. You've really established an amazingly strong roaster network that does a fantastic job with stewarding your coffee into a roasted bag and into brewed coffee. And so, well done there. I appreciate you taking the time to do
yeah.
this between your marathon training that's 20 hours a week, your coffee
Oh my god,
farming production that's another 20, 30 hours a week, and then your export operation is another 40, and
trying it
your
all.
yeah,
All
your
trying.
hospitality, your hospitality side business that's going to take another 10. I don't know where you get the hours from, but you're an amazing dude. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for taking the time and for joining us on the Cupping Table podcast.
Thank you for having me, David. Appreciate it.